Hello everyone. So today's topic is about working with MongoDB database. And for learning to how to work with MongoDB database, we will create a small authentication application. So by authentication application, I mean we will create a form which will prompt a user to fill in his or her username, his or her password, and then clicking a submit button. Okay, so then our application will check from the MongoDB database whether the user is registered with the application already. That means his name and his credentials are there in the MongoDB database or not. If they are there, then a corresponding message like you are authenticated will be displayed on the screen. Otherwise, the application will create the user. If the credentials are new, then it will automatically create that user in the database. Okay, and later we will also see if somebody wants to delete his account from your application, then what can he do. So these are the different aspects that we will learn through this lecture. And today I will work on our Visual Studio Code. For this environment, I have created a workspace, and inside that workspace I have already created a project folder called login mongo. Okay, so I will first create a file that will be our main application file, and I will name it as main.js. And of course I will create some customary folders, for example a routes folder where routes for that will be mentioned in main.js will rest, and some other folders like model folder because we will work on MVC pattern, MVC paradigm, view folder, and controller folder. Okay, so these are a few customary folders. So let's first work on main.js itself. Const express equals to require express, then const app equals to, let's not put a semicolon, and then we will have some list of middlewares. App.use, so if a user a request for nothing, just HTTP localhost and your port name, then this is how he will be handled. This request will be handled. So I will send ask your administrator. Okay, and let's suppose a user send a request like app.use login. In that case, I will call a router. Let's name this router for now as login router. And if app.use, I mean a user, or from the side of the user, if a request comes like auth, that's for authentication, then I will call auth router. Okay, so as of now, these login router and auth router, they are foreign variables, foreign keywords for this application. So I will first define them. Okay, so you can write login router equals to require dot slash, in the current document go to the routes folder, and inside routes go to login router.js file. But you know .js writing extension name is not mandatory, so I am omitting this. Then const auth router equals to require dot slash routes folder and auth router. So this is my main.js file, and let's complete it by writing the function 3000. So the server will listen on port number 3000. So this is the main.js file, and let's also write some router in login router. I mean login router.js and auth router.js. Also, let's also create these two files. So we will do them inside routes. We will create a file auth router.js and login router.js. So let's first create auth router.js. So I will write const express equals to require express, and then const router equals to express dot router. Then I will write the router dot use. So if a user sends a request of, let's say, slash auth, then the auth router will be called. Okay, so if there is a slash, that means this auth router is being called from the main.js. Then in that case we can write something like request response.send, and here let's write auth route. Okay, similarly in case of login.route, let's copy this code and I will go login.route. Here if there is a request for this, then let's say request response, instead of writing response.send, I'm just doing response.render login. I mean, I'm going to create a login.pug file. So this is the name of the pug file, login. So now it's time to create login.pug file, and we create these pug files inside view folder. But first we go to these. So we start creating .pug file. Let's first just increase the font size of these text. I'm getting a bit uneasiness while typing the code. So let's check where this zoom facility is there or not. Appearance zoom in. Okay, this looks better. So let's go to view, and inside view we will create login.pug file. So to create login.pug file, we first start with doc type HTML, and then there is HTML, and then we have head. Inside head we have title. Let's give it a title of login. Then inside, after at the same level of head, we have a body tag, and body will contain a form, something like this. And inside form I will have two text boxes for username and password, and one button for submitting that content. So input type equals to text, name equals to username. Similarly, input type equals to password, name equals to password. So let's zoom in a bit more. Appearance, zoom in. Okay. And the last thing is input type equals to submit, value equals to submit. Okay, so let's also give a line break between these text boxes. So this will be like PR, and also let's add some label. So I will have a label ID equals to uname, and the label will be like username. Okay, and I will copy it similarly here. It will be a username and the ID will be password. Here the ID will be password. Okay, so this looks fine. Now let's make this method as post, and for action value let's give http localhost 3000. So when will a user click on the submit button? Of course, when he want to sign in. Okay, so let's give this resource name as sign in. Now let's first look at main.js file. Here we see if the resource type that the request is looking for is auth, then we will go to auth router, and inside auth router, if the resource type is sign in, okay, then you will type response.send auth routes. Okay, so now let's check this whole application. Okay, so let's type node then our application main. So there are some errors. Let's check these errors. So it says it doesn't find the module express, so we will have to do npm install express. So it's done. So let's again check node main, and it is throwing some errors. So what are those errors? These are requires a middleware function but got a type router.use. Okay, so we have not done this thing, module dot exports equals to router, and the same should be repeated over here. Module dot exports equals to router. So let's check it again, and now there is no error and the application is running. So we'll go to our browser, and there we will type http localhost 3000, and it says that ask your administrator, because the requested resource is nothing. So if I request a resource like login, then in this case, as our application says, it should render that login.pug file. Okay, so when I request for the login, it gives me this error. So it says that no default engine was specified and no extension was provided. I hope all of you now know how to resolve this error. We will go to our main.js file, and there we will write app.set view engine pug. If you are going to work on pug templates, if you are going on handlebars, then you will have to pass a different parameter HBS. Now, second thing that we have to do it, app.set views is view. So consider view in case of views. Whenever Node.js engine will look for views, instead of looking for views, I'll look for views. So I have not installed pug either. So npm install pug. To change our login.pug a little bit, here instead of 3000 I will pass auth sign in. Okay, so let's log in and we click on this. Then you see this is auth. The basic application is all there in place. Now it's time to do some real work. So to work with MongoDB database, you will have to call MongoDB Atlas. So what is MongoDB Atlas actually? If you want to work with MongoDB database, you have two options. Either you install that MongoDB database on your machine, on your PC or on your Mac, or else you can create your database. You can work with database on the cloud that is provided by MongoDB itself, and that cloud version is called MongoDB Atlas. So I will have to sign in. So I have some options whether I want to work on shared clusters or dedicated clusters. So every other type of cluster formation charges me something, so only shared cluster is free. So I will start with shared cluster, and here I will go with either AWS or Microsoft Azure, or you can go with Google platform. So AWS is better, but you can go with any. I like AWS for this particular case. Now I go to this, I select this particular region, and because it is closer to us, and then there are some options that I will let remain them default. Okay, so our cluster name will be cluster 0, and here I will click on creating this cluster. So now MongoDB Atlas will create a cluster for me. Okay, so this is a kind of help that's open. So these are the steps. Build your first cluster. So we have completed this step. Then we'll have to create our database user, then whitelist IP address, then sample data. That's the optional step. You want to load your sample data. And finally, we want to connect to our cluster. So 20% of the steps are done. So here what I will do, as you can see, this is a default organization that is created for myself. This is Pratik's org, and inside that organization, my default project is project 0, that is already given by Atlas itself. I can create my own project and my own organizations as well. And inside this project 0, this is a cluster. Okay, so that means that inside a project you can have many clusters. Consider cluster as a node. Okay, so when I have a cluster here, I will go to the database access and will create a new database user. We'll need this database user to create connection with the database. So here I will create a user like the name Pratik and password again as Pratik. Okay. And then these are the options. I suggest you use read and write to any database instead of Atlas admin or anything else. And then just click on create user. Okay, so this is the second step is completed. Okay, so let's then go to the third step, the network access. Here you can add the IP addresses. So whatever IP addresses you will add over here, so through those IP addresses you can access this cluster. Okay, so this is a kind of a security that is given to this. So these are two options: add current IP address, or you can say allow access for anywhere. You can select any one of the tab from here. So I suggest you use allow access from anywhere. So it will add a 0000.0.0.0 in the whitelist entry, and then press confirm. Then there's an optional step of loading some sample data. So instead of loading some sample data, we will create our own database and collections in it. So this thing is still continuing, so let it work there. Now we will move to the cluster, and here we will move to this collections. So this will give you option whether you want to load your sample data or you want to add your own data. So I want to add my own data. So now it is asking me what is my database name. So I'm giving a database name of student, and then it is asking me what is the collection name. So you can consider collection names if you compare this MongoDB database, which is a NoSQL database. If you want to compare it to your relational typical RDBMS data, then the collections, they are analogous to tables. So the database name is student and the collection name, let's say it is auth. Now it has created my database with the name student and table or collection with the name auth. So the philosophy of MongoDB database is this: you have collections inside your database. Collection means tables, and inside those tables or inside those collections you have documents. Okay, so if you compare with RDBMS, your tables comprises of rows or tuples or records. In this case, in MongoDB database or in NoSQL databases, the collections comprises of documents. So this is our collection, this is our table auth. So we will not insert a row, we will insert a document. So this is analogous to rows in RDBMS. So here you can see insert to collection. So there is one field that is automatically inserted by default _ID. So this is considered as the primary key of your table. So here, as you can see, there is a little colon and then double quotes. So I will pass a field with the name username and giving its value, let's say Ram. Okay, and let's add another field, password, and let me give password Ram as well. Now you can see here these are the different kinds of data types that are available with MongoDB database. So string is the default that is given to these fields, assigned to these fields, username and password. So there is another list of data structures that you can also assign. You can see they can be arrays, they can be binary, boolean, code, int 32, int 64, of course for 32-bit integer and 64-bit integer, object, null, bson map, timestamp, and undefined. So these are the different kind of data structures like any other database. They are also available with MongoDB. So this is our first document that we have inserted. So if you want to compare it with RDBMS, our conventional tables, then a field is a column. Okay, so this is analogous to a column in table. So this is our column name, username, and this is the value against this column name. Okay, so now we have collections, we have document. So let's insert this document. Now you can see that this document is inserted in our MongoDB database. Let's insert another document. Again, username, let's say Lakhan, and let's add another field, password, and let's give it Lakhan, and let's insert this document as well. So now you can see there are two documents inside our database. So you may question, what is the benefit of using MongoDB or NoSQL database when you are entering the records or rows like that in case of a normal RDBMS? So what is the difference? Actually, difference lies in this: these NoSQL databases does not follow a schema. Okay, so what is the meaning of schema? That in case of RDBMS typical tables, you always define while creating a table that this table will compose of a column name which is of type string. There is another column name age which is of type number. There will be another column name, let's say date of birth, which will be of type date. So this was actually your schema for a particular table. So if you define a schema for a table, you always define a schema for a table before entering data into that table. But in case of MongoDB database, while you insert a document inside a database, your one document need not necessarily be same as your previous documents. So suppose if in your MongoDB database you have 8 documents, in this particular example we have only 2 documents, and these 2 documents are similar. They both follow same structure. There is one username of type string, another password of name type string, and one underscore ID of type number in one document, and the same is repeated for the second document. But this is not necessary. Okay. For example, suppose I am having I am inserting in another database, and here instead of inserting username and password, I can insert like engine number, and you can give some A B C D 4 5 6, some string. Okay, so now you can see we have 3 documents, or if you compare with that standard tables in RDBMS, we have 3 rows. The first row is following a schema where there is a username password. The second row is also following the same schema, but the third row is diagonally opposite. How? There is no such thing like username or password. It has a different set of fields, engine number. Okay, so this is possible with MongoDB database or NoSQL database. It was not possible with conventional RDBMS. Okay, so this is the difference. So one advantage that is apparent of using these NoSQL databases is that in case of RDBMS typical tables, if you do not know a value for a particular field for a particular row, you have to insert null over there, right? And dealing with null is actually a pain in the neck. But in case of NoSQL database, if you don't know, for example, I have an engine number or for this row and car name as a second field for this row, and suppose I'm doing the inserting the fourth document. There I only insert the engine number, but I do not know what is the car type or car name. So I will not put a null. I will not enter that field itself. To deal with null values is relatively easier while you work with NoSQL databases, because you don't have to enter that field at all. So now let's get back to our application in Node.js, and this is the time to work on models. Okay, so let's create a file called connection inside our model, and let's create another file called login model.js inside a model. Okay, so what I will put inside connection is I will try to connect my application with the MongoDB database on the cloud. Okay, so for doing this, I will require a MongoDB client. Okay, see, there are 2 ways you can work with MongoDB with your Node.js application. The one is using the MongoDB driver, and people use that MongoDB. Of course, many people use that MongoDB driver to connect to the MongoDB database. There is another way. There is another, you can say, kind of middleware that you can use to connect to MongoDB database, and that middleware is called Mongoose. Okay, so what this Mongoose does, this Mongoose help you create relationships between your data. Okay, so you have seen in case of MongoDB database that these 2 documents may be totally independent of each other. Okay, but Mongoose, what Mongoose does, Mongoose try to create the relationship between those data. Okay, so that essentially means that if you want to work with your MongoDB database in the way like you do in your conventional RDBMS application, where you need where you work with a schema. So this is the same thing that is provided by Mongoose. Mongoose provides you to work with a schema. Okay, so although MongoDB is a schema-less database, but Mongoose gives you schema to work with. Okay, so this is an advantage of using Mongoose. So here we are using Mongoose to connect to the MongoDB database. You can think it like earlier we have, while we were learning Node.js, we started with vanilla Node.js. So we were not using Express, but we saw that using Express is more convenient than using raw Node.js. Similarly, using Mongoose to connect with MongoDB, to interact with MongoDB is a bit easier than using MongoDB driver. Okay, so what I will do, I will write const mongoose equals to require mongoose. Okay, then I will use mongoose. Okay, you will need mongoose module first. So let me npm install mongoose, because this is a third-party module. So now this is there inside my application. So I will do mongoose dot connect, and now you will need to pass connection string through our MongoDB Atlas. So I'm in MongoDB Atlas, and let's go back to cluster, and then we will click on this connect, and here you can see that there are three options: connect with Mongo Shell, or connect with your application, or connect with MongoDB Compass. Compass is a GUI based application to interact with MongoDB database, but because we are working on an application, so we will use this option, connect with your application. And this is the connection string. See, the driver is Node.js. There are drivers for C, C++, .NET, Go, Java, Node.js, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby, Scala. So I will use Node.js. I will also choose the version. This is 3.0 or later. So, and then I will copy this link. And then I will go back to my application and will paste this link inside here. So as you can see, here is my username and this is the password. So I will have to give some password here, and password is again Pratik, and then this is cluster 0 MongoDB test. Test is the name of the database, the default database, but we have created a database for ourselves. The name is student. Okay, so this is mongoose.connect, and mongoose.connect function, it throws a promise. So I can use .then, and if it throws an error, I will console.log error. Okay, so this will create my connection with Mongoose. So let's try if I am able to connect to the MongoDB database or not. So let's go to our model folder, and there I will write node connection. Okay, so this is connected. So that means I'm connected to my MongoDB server. So the next thing that I will do is I will write my login model.js. Okay, so here the first thing that you will do is you will write const mongoose equals to require mongoose. Then you will write let login schema. So what we are doing, actually we are creating a schema here. So login schema equals to mongoose dot schema. Okay, so this is my schema, and let's do one thing more. From here, let's write module dot exports equals to login schema. I have completed my model section. I have completed my view part. I have completed my routes part, and this is the time to go to the controller part. Okay, so let's write some controller for this, and I'm adding the file controller.js. So here inside the controller, I will write const mongoose equals to require mongoose. Okay, then const login. So this is the name of my model, login equals to, we have exported our schema from login model.js. So we will take it over here. Const login schema equals to require. Okay, so this will return a login schema. And here you will have mongoose dot model. Here you will pass the name of the model. Let's say the name is login. Then you will pass the schema, login schema, and then you will pass the name of your collection. So my collection is auth. So what we are doing actually in this line, we are actually compiling our schema into a model. Okay, so this was my schema that I defined in login model.js file. Here, this was my schema. Okay, and in this line, I am compiling that schema, login schema, into a model. So that schema is now represented in my application as a model, and the name of that model is capital LOGIN model, to delete some data from the database. So for that, you will have to call login dot. As you can see, there are a lot of functions: remove, find by ID, etc., etc. But we will use delete one. There is also delete many, but we will use delete one. So login dot delete one, and then you will have to pass the conditions, and then there is a callback. So let's pass the condition. The condition is the username should be equals to, let's say, Lakhan. So delete that user from my database where username is Lakhan. The second option, the second parameter is a callback. I will have a callback here. So I will write if error, then console.log error, else console.log successfully deleted. But we would not want to delete a username by hard coding the username. Rather than passing the value Lakhan, we would pass request dot body dot username. But as you can see, this request is not specified in the programming page. So actually what I want to do is I want to call this delete one method in the form of a router. Okay, so what I will do, module dot exports delete router equals to request response. This delete router is actually exported from this controller.js file. So to complete this application, this delete only application, we will have to go back to our auth router.js, and I should not have named this delete router. This delete controller. If you say router.use slash, let's say, unsubscribe controller dot delete controller. Okay, so for this you need const equals to require. Right now I am in route, so I will have to go back to go back from route, and then I'll have to go to the controller folder, and there I will go to controller.js. So if there is a request like unsubscribe, then controller.read controller will be appropriately called. So when this unsubscribe resource will be called, that is a question. So for this, we'll have to go back to our pug file. Actually, we'll have to write one more link that will work like a submit button, and that link will have a text of unsubscribe. So let's create a link. A href equals to hash. So the name of the link is unsubscribe. Okay, and here right on click equals to, let's call a JavaScript function over here, and the name of that JavaScript function is action builder. Okay, so definitely I will have to create this function inside the pug file itself. So I will do it after title. So you write script dot. So this is the way you insert JavaScript inside your pug file. Here I will write function action builder. Let's give some ID to this form as well. ID equals to frm1. Okay. So what I'm doing here, writing let frm equals to document dot get element by ID, and the name of the frm1. Then I'm doing frm dot action equals to. So by default, the action is this http localhost 3000 dot sign in. So what I'm doing, if somebody clicks this link, then this action should change from this link to some other link, and it should be http colon localhost colon 3000 auth colon unsubscribe. And finally, on clicking this link, hyperlink, it should act like a submit button. So what I will do, I will write frm dot submit. We'll go to my main.js, and here after creating express, the first thing that I want to do is write const connection equals to model there connection. So what will happen when this main.js will execute, this connection object will automatically be created. After this, I will write const body parser equals to require body parser, and here I will write f dot use body parser dot url encoded extended true. So I will have to check my application again. Now let's go back to our login, and let's write over here Lakhan and click on unsubscribe. Something happens, but what we don't know. So let's check our database first. Okay, so there is only one Ram, there is no Lakhan. Let's check one more time. Let's enter one more data here, username, let's write Mahesh, and then password, this is Kumar. Let's insert this document. Okay, Mahesh Kumar is there, and I will go back to my application, and here I will write Mahesh, and we'll click on unsubscribe, and we'll check my application. It says successfully deleted, and we'll go back to my database. We'll click on refresh, and boom, this is gone. This is successfully deleting. This is a good application. Okay, so now let's understand other aspects of doing CRUD with MongoDB database. So as you can see why this is still cycling like this. The reason behind this is because if this is successfully deleted, I should have sent a message of response.send type. If I do this, it will stop revolving, rotating like this. So I should write response.send cannot delete account. Okay, otherwise it should say response.send count deleted. Okay, now because by writing this response.send, for once this response.send executes, it stops that request response cycle, and because it stops that request response cycle, so this rotation will also stop. So this is the reason why I added response.send in if and else both. Okay, now suppose if a user does not want to unsubscribe, rather he wants to sign in. Okay, so what will I do if he wants to sign in? And here, instead of calling this, I will call, and here I will call controller dot sign in controller. Okay, so till now I have not created this sign in controller, so I'm gonna create this in controller.js. I will do it after this. So I will write module dot exports dot sign in controller equals to request response and inside the sign in controller, what I'm gonna do is I have created a model with the name login. So I will write login.find, this find method, and this find method will take, as you can see, it can take a callback console.log err else console.log response. Okay, so when there is a sign in controller will be called, it will just console.log the result of the find function. And what find function will do, find function will go to your database and retrieve all the documents from the database. Okay, so this response will contain all the documents that are available in your collection. Let's check it is connected or not. Yes. So let's press submit button. Okay, and this is cycling because there is no response.end. Let's see what is the result, and you can see it has printed the available documents inside my database. As of now, there is only one document available, so the result is it displays only one document. So actually what I want, if a user wants to sign in, we will have to check, we will have to match the credentials that a user passed in this login form, the username and password, with that available in the database, and what is there in the database is now available with us. Okay, so now we will iterate through this object and match what is what is being passed by the user. So for this, once you have else part here, so let's do this else console.log else. After this, I am gonna do, I'm writing a for loop, and inside for loop I am writing for element of. So all this data is available inside res response. So for element of res, so I am iterating over the content of res. As you can see, this res is available in the form of an array. Just look at this character, the left subscript operator and the right subscript operator. So this is an array actually. This array, as of now, this array contains only one object. So if there are more documents in my database, this array will definitely contain multiple documents. So I am here iterating over this array using for element of res. So while this response, this array will be iterated, and each content of this element, that means each document, each object, will then be stored in element of variable one by one. So I will check this element variable. So for element of res, we'll check if element dot username equals to request dot body dot username and element dot password equals to request dot body dot password. If it is the case, then break from this loop. Okay. Now what I'm doing, I am also creating a variable with the name index and initializing it to 0. Okay. And after this if statement, so this is the end of the for loop, or okay. After this for loop, the end, what I am doing text plus. Okay. And here I will check if index equals to res, which is an array, res dot length. Okay, so if index equals to array dot length, that means we did not find a match. Okay, so in that case, you did not find a match, so better you register this user in that database. So better you call the function sign up, and this request and response should be called. And if this is not the case, then else you should response.send a message authenticated. So now let's create another function which is called sign up. Request response, and we will run this right console, let's see, response.send sign up. Okay, we will do it later. So as of now, we will check whether this application is doing authentication or not. I hope this is clear, the concept of taking index. So let's run this application and wait for this idiot to get connected. This is connected. So let's check. I think we have only one data inside our database, and that is Ram. So let's check out Ram and go to submit. Oh, the authentication is not coming. So there is some error. Let's check what this error is. This is the issue. here we have also taken this as request response, and here we also taken this as response. So let's change the name over here. So this is doc. So for each element of doc, so element dot username, this should be doc dot length, and then it should start working. Let's also fill up something into this user name Mahesh, and then password Kumar. Insert. Let's insert one more. This time username Nilesh, and field password is Jen. Let's insert this. So we have Mahesh and Nilesh inside our database. I hope this is connected by now. So let's pass inside this application Ram and let's check submit, and you see it is giving us authenticated. Login. Let's see. Let's try to write some data. For example, Prateek Pandey. Pandey, and let's try to submit it. Let's see what is the result. Sign up. Yes. So this didn't work. There is a new user, so the authentication will be failed, and in that case the sign up function will be called, and so the control is shifted to this sign up function, and the response that was sent is sign up. So it's time to do some sign up. Sign up means you want to insert this record or this document into your database. So for this you need to create an object of this model which is called login. So let's create login equals to new login. Okay, then you can write login dot username equals to request dot body dot username login dot password equals to request dot body dot password. Const login equals to new login, and then okay, login dot username, and then you will write login dot save. It gives you a promise in return. Then console.log inserted dot catch console dot log error. Console.log, let's say doc doc. So let's check this application. It is connected. So let's give a username pp and the password is pp, and let's submit. What is the username connected PP? So I think it is created. Let's check whether PP is inserted or not. Oh, PP is inserted. So now this was actually a larger application, and the constraint is that we had to complete it in the limited time. But anyways, it is completed. So you have seen a live demo of creating an application using model view controller architecture, as well as you have learned how to work with MongoDB database, which is a NoSQL database. You have also learned some of the properties of NoSQL databases. What is the schema? How RDBMS is different from NoSQL databases. So this is a little bit of application, little bit of information that you all need to know, and this is very, very essential for your interview purposes. So if you have any question, you can ask me, or if you are watching this video on a YouTube, you can also write some comments, or you can write your questions over there. So I hope this was a lecture full of fun for all of you, and I hope it was of some value to you guys. So let's call it a day. Thank you.